Hi, and welcome to our podcast series Sci-ROI Tales, a brand new avenue of Sci-ROI to feature STEM professionals from India to share their stories with our members. I am Bhashwati Sengupta, currently a postdoctoral scholar at Penn State University, USA, and an active member of the current Sci-ROI leadership team. Today, I'll be hosting this episode of Return to India Stories. Today we have with us Dr. Himanshu Gogoi from Amity University. Today, he will be sharing his transition story and his recent experiences in Indian academia. We will begin with a quick bio sketch of Dr. Gogoi. Dr. Gogoi started his research career with an M.Sc in physical chemistry from Delhi University in 2013. He then joined the Ph.D. program at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi in 2013. He worked on synthesizing nanoparticle adjuvants with varying crystallinity and studying its effect in antigen binding. After earning his PhD in biotechnology, he moved to the University of Florida in 2019 for a postdoctoral stint under Professor Lei Jin. During his postdoc at University of Florida, he worked on immunosenescence and vaccine-induced immune response against respiratory pathogens, role of MPYS in fatty acid metabolism, and deciphering the role of lung dendritic cell to maintain tolerance. He was awarded with the Department of Health Research Young Scientist Award in 2019. After his successful postdoctoral training, Dr. Gogoi joined Amity University, Jaipur as an assistant professor in June 2022. Congratulations on your new position, Dr. Gogoi. We are very glad to host you on our podcast and a warm welcome to you. We will now start with the question answer session.
Hi, Vaswati. Yeah. So I really thank you very much for having me in this podcast. And yeah, thank you for such a beautiful welcome. We can go ahead and yeah, take on the questions what you have for me.
Yeah, we will start with the question answer session. So, my first question would be like we will start with the planning part. They say planning is half the battle won, right? So can you tell us a little bit about when did you start planning? What kind of planning went into your move? What sort of decisions you had to take before taking the decision of moving back to India?
Yeah, sure. So when you talk about planning, yeah. So even before like starting my postdoc journey, I was determined to move back to India one day. I had that thought always in the back of my mind. So I started looking for job opportunities as soon as I finished my second year of my postdoc. So I knew about these re-entry fellowships like your DBT Ramalinga Swami or the DBT Welcome Trust or the DST Ramanujan fellowships, like which are one of the prestigious fellowships to beg to come back to India. Apart from these fellowships, I also started attending the webinars which are organized by your India Bioscience and Sci-ROI. I came to know about these platforms through the Facebook STEM peers group. Like people say that social media is not that good, but I said that social media did help me to know about these positions and these platforms. So from these webinars, I got an idea about the process that Indian institutes follow for faculty recruitment. So one time, like while browsing through the Sci-ROI website, I found out about the recruitment drive platform. Although I had just finished my second year of postdoc when I first found about this platform, I still applied for that Sci-ROI second recruitment drive. That's just because I wanted to get an first-hand experience of how a faculty recruitment takes place in India and what to watch out for in those recruitments. Coming to your next part, like what sort of decisions that I had to take before moving back. Definitely, leaving back a US and moving back is a daunting task. So there is a saying in the US that whoever stays in the US for more than 3 years, it becomes very difficult for that person to leave US. So we do have a very good quality life over there. We have all the facilities we need to do science at our disposal. We just have to worry about doing science. So being graduating from India, I definitely knew how things work in India, but still I had that determination of moving back. So I had to start somewhere to start my career before climbing up the ladder. So that's the decision that I had to take. like I had to start somewhere in India to climb the ladder. So that's how I decided to like move back to India.
Okay, that helps a lot to understand what timeline should one follow. And the next question will be, there is so much impetus on the new beginnings in India that we really talk about the transition process, like the process of winding up that phase of career before the move. Did you have an exit strategy when you were moving out of the USA? How did you go about planning and executing the exit?
Yeah, I definitely had some move out plan from my lab. So to begin with, I was very upfront with my PI, professionally, that I'm looking for independent positions in India. Even when I first started to appear for the Sci-ROI interviews, although I knew that I couldn't make it through those rounds of interview, but still I kept him in the loop that I'm appearing for those interviews, and he was very much okay with that. However, once my position was finalized, we decided on the objectives and experiments which we felt that I could complete before leaving. So I had somewhere like 4 months of time before I moved out from my lab. So I definitely had to put in some extra efforts to complete as much as possible before I can move out. Yeah, so those were the like only the strategies what I or my PI had before moving out.
So, what I get from your answer is that you have to have it in your mind that, okay, I'm finishing this work by this timeline.
Definitely, you need to have a clear cut, deadlines with your PI, because your PI definitely depends on you and your effort, and your experiment depends on you. So you will definitely have to set up some deadlines and like some objective deadlines and date deadlines also, that I am going to do this much experiments within this time frame before moving out. Yeah, being upfront is very necessary.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. So then, how did you start your job search? Like, what was your source of information about job openings?
Okay. So about the job openings, I definitely used to go through the independent, the institute's web pages and looking for rolling advertisements or call for advertisements for your assistant faculty positions. So I also learned about this Sci-ROI platform from the Facebook Stampiers page, and that's how I got to know more about the available positions in India. So Sci-ROI has been really helpful in this aspect to provide this platform to like the postdocs who are abroad to help them to come back to India and start their independent positions.
Yeah. Okay. Nice to hear good things about Sci-ROI. And then, how did you prepare yourself for the job market? Did you seek any help from others, or is it just purely like you thought that this is your perspective and you just prepared all by yourself?
Okay, now coming about like how to prepare yourself for the job market. Talking about my perspective, like what I felt was that, so initially when I first appeared for the interviews, I didn't have an idea of what to expect during the rounds. I just had to focus on my strengths and what expertise I could bring with me to the institute. Luckily, I'm very fortunate that I belong to a very productive lab in my postdoc, and that also strengthened my resume a lot. So, talking about preparing, I would say that it's a process, right? We can prepare in a few weeks or a few months of time. We have to do what we are doing regularly, and that's how we get prepared for such a position. And that happens, it's a process, and it happens unknowingly. And yes, seeking help, yes, my postdoc PI was very supportive in this case. He helped me prepare a generalized presentation for my interviews. So he only said that the audience over on the other side of the screen, they will be unknown to your work. So keep your presentation and work very generalized. Give them brief of what you have found out. Focus more on your findings rather than your data. He also suggested me to focus on my strengths and the expertise that I can offer to the institute. So these were what help I got from my postdoc PI.
Okay, and I'd like to know a little bit about the networking you did.
Yeah. So, networking or reaching out to people is definitely necessary. Although we as scientists, we definitely fall behind in this case of networking. If I'm not wrong, this is my perspective. That before I used to be very poor in networking, but once I moved to the US, I found that no, networking is very important even for us also. It definitely networking definitely opens up new perspectives and can lead to new opportunities. So that's what I feel about networking.
So when you planned on transitioning back, did you talk to other people in conferences, or did you try to like follow people on LinkedIn or connect to people who have recently joined in order to get their insights, or is it like you just went ahead with the applications?
Okay, yeah. So when I first started out like filling applications through the Sci-ROI platform, it was totally on my own. I just went through the Sci-ROI platform, like whatever institutes I can find. I just started applying for those. Yeah, I didn't network that much during the first round of the interview.
I just wanted to know because some people say that networking is the is the most important part of the job applications. It's good to hear the other side also, like as you're saying. Um, Also, can you tell us a little bit about the timeline of your job search process? Like, when did you start, and how long did it take to get shortlisted, and then how long for the interview and to the final offer letter?
Okay. So the job search, if I calculate it from the beginning, like when I first started it back in July 2021 through the second Sci-ROI recruitment drive, it lasted, my job search lasted for almost a year, if I'm frank. So during the first my round of my interviews in back in July 2021, I appeared for IIT Gandhinagar and Amrita University. So yeah, it definitely took me like 1 year to apply and to to get an idea of how the interviews take place. And once I cleared the MET interview, so when I appeared for the MET interview back in December 2021 through the Sci-ROI's third recruitment drive, I heard back from MET in January 2022. After that, they asked me to prepare for a formal round of interview where a lot of their faculties and students were attending. That session took place somewhere in like February 2022, and it took me like around another 2 months of time to get a formal job offer from them, like a couple of round of negotiations and those kind of like official stuff. So I finally got my offer letter back in March 2022. So it took me somewhere like 3 to 4 months to finally get my offer letter after the first round of interview.
Okay, that's I would say that's really quick because we always hear stories that it's like a long process and you have to wait for like months after you get the second interview. Yeah, so it was nice to hear your story.
I think it definitely varies from institute to institute.
Yeah. Well, congratulations once again. I hope that things work well.
Thank you.
And we will go to the next question then. This is going to be a little subjective, I know, but how did the entire job search process feel like? Like, was it frustration most of the time, or is it like doing something new, enthusiasm? How did it feel like?
Okay, so one thing I think every Indian scientist working abroad as a postdoc know that there are very less job opportunities in India, and a lot of brilliant scientists are working abroad. So getting a job in an Indian institute is really a daunting task. I mean, definitely, I also felt frustrated at times thinking about what's gonna happen after 5 years. So yeah, it definitely takes a toll on us. Even the job search was like overwhelming. So all the Indian scientists or postdocs who are working abroad knows that there are very less job opportunities in India, and a lot of brilliant scientists are working abroad. So getting a job in an Indian institute is a daunting task, and definitely frustration does take over us sometimes. Even the job search does feel like overwhelming. There are very less job advertisements and a lot of competition. So I definitely agree that job search is frustrating, and I have also faced the same thing before I got to know about Sci-ROI.
So we would also like to know about the roadblocks you faced when moving back to India.
Okay, to be very frank, my journey back to India was very smooth. My PI was really happy that I was able to get an independent position in India. because that was my dream to come back to India one day. So he knew it from the very beginning, and he was very happy that I was able to get a position. But he was also very sad at the same time, because we were really getting to get some very interesting pieces of data together. So ultimately, it was a bittersweet parting for us. But apart from that, I didn't face any roadblocks while moving back to India. Or moreover, I can say that it went out quite smoothly for me, at least.
Okay, that feels great to hear because this we don't get to hear a lot. We usually hear it is actually, very tiring and, frustrating process altogether. But nice to hear that.
I was very excited to come back to India.
Yeah. And then the next question would be, we know that you got your breakthrough to return to India through Sci-ROI virtual recruitment drive, right?
Mhm.
So, can you tell our listeners about the process and how it helped you as compared to the independent applications? Is it like smoother than that?
Definitely. Talking about Sci-ROI, I mean, I'm really thankful for this platform, and I'm glad that I came across Sci-ROI during my postdoc tenure. I'm very thankful to Winstep for creating this Sci-ROI platform. The best thing about this platform is that we get access to a lot of institutes, and the institutes list out their requirements. So actually, we get to know if our expertise can match with the requirement of the institute or not. So many a times it happens that when we apply in an institute through a rolling advertisement, or even a call for the position, it happens that the institute is not looking for our expertise, and so we feel demotivated at that time because we go through a lot of lengthy process of filling up the application form. And through Sci-ROI, I have felt that the percentage of hearing back from an institute also significantly rises as compared to when we apply individually to an institute. So I'm definitely in favor that like all the postdocs should look through this Sci-ROI recruitment drive in order to get in touch with the institutes. At least you can get to know the people who are working in that institute, and then you can connect to them through like LinkedIn or Twitter, and then get to know about like various openings that the institute can have in the future.
Thanks a lot for that, Dr. Gogoi. And then we are heading to our final question. Um, do you have any advice for our Sci-ROI listeners and volunteers to make the transitions process smoother or things to keep in mind from your personal experience?
Yeah, sure. For the future applicants, I would like to say that stay firm with your decision. Start preparing well in advance. So just start appearing for the interviews. Just apply to the institutes through the Cyro portal. Appear for the interviews. So you may not get selected in the first round, but at least that will give you an exposure of what to expect in those interviews. And be upfront with your PI about your future plans, like move out dates, and if you plan to continue on something that you worked on your postdoc training, but you would also like to take on as you start your independent career. So just sit for these interviews. If not anything, it will give you a new experience for the future.
Thank you so much. We would have loved to keep continuing this talk, but we'll have to end this episode here in the interest of time. Thank you, Dr. Gogoi, for patiently answering all of our questions and giving us some valuable insights into the transition process back to India based on your experience. It was really a pleasure hosting you on our podcast series. We wish you all the best for the next phase of your research career and hope you'll be back soon again someday on our platform, maybe a couple of years down also, to share more stories of your progress and time in India. This is it for today, listeners. Until we come back to you again with a new speaker as a part of our Return to India Stories series. Watch out for more updates from Sci-ROI Tales.
So thank you, Bhaswati, and thanks a lot to Syra and its team for having me here and giving me this opportunity to apply back to India. And I would like to wish all the best to the future applicants who apply through the Syra platform and otherwise. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.